my 10, 20 friends, let us continue with the elements of drama. So, drama is a story told through action and dialogue by actors who impersonate characters. Duh, right? We kind of know that, hopefully. But it has conventions that we may not necessarily know all about. So the conventions of drama require what Coleridge called a willing suspension of disbelief. And so we have to accept certain ideas, right? So first we have to accept the fact of impersonation or representation, that these actors are taking on a role that may be quite different from who they really are. We have to accept that the stage is the actual scene or setting. We have to sort of immerse ourselves in that idea and in that world. And we have to accept the convention of asides. And this term will haunt you on that exam on literary terms. So just saying. Asides are lines spoken by an actor that are intended to be heard by you, the audience, but not by the other actors on the stage. So when you try to remember that on the exam on literary terms, think of an aside. I'm just taking you aside, audience, and I'm telling you this secret that I don't want the other actors on the stage to hear, right? And then soliloquies, that's another convention. So think soliloquy, solitude, solitary. That's a character talking when alone on the stage. We call that a soliloquy. I don't know if you ever talk to yourself, but I do, I will admit it. And I do it a lot when I'm in the car, and sometimes I'm blessing out someone who is, riding my tail end or whatever. And sometimes I'm just talking to myself, just going along, going, man, when we get home, we really need to upload that document into D2L, and we really need to grade those papers, and then we'll need to make dinner. And I am referring to myself as we, which is really, really strange. Really weird. I don't know what that's about. Maybe I need to go see a shrink or something. My dad used to say, you're okay if you talk to yourself, as long as you don't start answering yourself. That's when I'm going to worry about you. So, we also have to accept the fact that ordinary people might be speaking in highly poetic language, especially like with a Shakespearean play, that actors on the stage always speak more loudly than is natural because they're taught to project their voices out. Now, before I came to college teaching, my background was in the music industry, and I was a songwriter and a singer. I was a studio singer in Nashville and also on the road, as was my brother. And my daughter is now a singer-songwriter, but when she was little, she was a heck of a little singer and an actor. And so she was taught as a singer, obviously on the stage and in theater. But she eventually became a child actor in Los Angeles, and we moved there because of her acting. So they told her, when she started doing work in film and television in LA, stop projecting your voice. You don't have to do that anymore. We realize that's what you were taught to do. But you're not on a big stage right now. You're in a sound studio or whatever, so you don't have to project. We also have to accept the possibility of this Latin term called in medias res, and that's going to haunt you on that exam on literary terms. So it means into the middle of affairs. And it refers to this technique in which a story begins after the action has already taken place. And the explanation of the plot, the characters' roles and relationships, the importance of the setting and so on are left to be revealed to you via flashback, maybe the character's thoughts or dialogue, or a reverse chronology where the story is sort of told backwards. So if you think about it, you've probably seen a lot of television shows or films where there's action beginning right at the very beginning of the piece, but you don't really know how it came to be that way. So like there's a chase scene, but you're not really sure who the good guy is or who the bad guy is or why the chase is happening yet. And that's revealed to you later on in some way. The conventions of drama require a balance between empathy and aesthetic distance. So remember, we're viewing art here, not life. And then they require that we remember that the reading of dramatic literature, the reading of a play or a screenplay, is usually a poor alternative to actually watching the play or the film, because screenplays are written to be performed. So usually watching is better. So the elements of drama, again, we have plot, what's actually happening, right, in the play or the film. So things to ask yourself about plot. Does the play follow that classical structure, or is it an example of in medias res? What's the function of each act and scene? How are they related? Because scenes can build on each other. They might set the stage for the next scene, sort of offer a little foreshadowing, etc. What is the essential problem or conflict? Remember, there's always trouble in literature. There's always a conflict going on. Where is the climax or the turning point? Does the resolution seem appropriate and satisfactory? Or did you get to the end and think, dead, blame it? I spent all this time watching this movie and I invested myself in this TV show, and then it had this stupid ending. Compare the end of the play back with the beginning. What major changes have occurred? And that's going to clue you into theme. In what ways does the opening act serve the important purpose of exposition, explaining to you what's come before, what's already happened? And how is that background info conveyed? What important things maybe have already taken place? Does the play contain subplots? So other things that are going on that underlie the main plot. And what is their relationship to the main plot? Then character, that's another big element, again, in drama. So who is the protagonist? Who's the main person through whose eyes we're seeing things, or the main character with whom we are identifying? And then who's the antagonist, the person who is opposed to that protagonist? And remember, it could also be a force or an issue that is in opposition to that main character. So know those terms for that exam. What is the function of the other major characters in the play? What's the function of the minor characters? Are they there for comic relief? Are they the BFF? You know, what's going on? What methods are used to establish and reveal characters? And are the actions of the characters properly motivated, consistent, and plausible? Do they make sense? I don't know if you've ever watched a film or a TV show and suddenly the character does or says something that doesn't seem consistent with what you know of that character up to that point, and it throws you off there. My husband says that happens on the young and the rest of us all the time, but what does he know, right? So dialogue. How does the dialogue of the characters differ? How do the differences aid in characterization? So do you have maybe one character who, when he or she speaks, is very eloquent and poetic, and you have another character that sounds like she come from East Ridge? How does that sort of aid in the characterization? What stylistic devices contribute to the dialogue? So even in drama, you can have sort of a poetic rhythm and sound. You can have repetition, puns, wordplay, comparison, allusion, imagery, irony, symbolism. A lot of these literary techniques. Setting. What's the place, time, and place? To what extent does setting aid in characterization, establish and sustain the atmosphere, and influence the plot or the main theme? So you're going to see in Amistad that beginning setting and the way that it just sort of puts you in a certain mindset. And then theme itself. What is the play's main theme? How is it presented? Is it explicitly stated, just given to you outright? Is it implied? Is there more than one? What is the universal value or significance of that theme? So other aspects to think about when you're evaluating a film or a play. So look at the title. Again, the title is the author's first way to communicate with you. So what clue does it provide to the main theme or the main ideas? So think about what that word Amistad means. You might look it up. To what extent does the playwright make use of conventions like asides, soliloquies, a chorus? That's going to haunt you too. So when we hear that word chorus, we think of chorus, like being a choir or something. But in theater, it means a group of actors who function as a unit. They're called a chorus. And it was a characteristic feature of the Greek tragedy. So The members of the chorus might share a common identity, and in some place the chorus is participating directly in the action. In others, they're sort of off to the side of the stage, just restricted to observing the action and commenting on it. So that's chorus in drama. And also, to what extent is the playwright using the three unities of time, place, and action? And what functions do those conventions serve? So let's talk about the three unities, because that's going to also be on that exam. The classical unities, also called the three unities, are rules for drama, but they came about from a misreading of Aristotle's famous Poetics. And in their neoclassical form, here's what they are. The unity of action, this rule that says a play should have one main action that it follows with no or few subplots. And of course, we know that that's not true, that many successful plays have a lot of subplots going on. The unity of place. A play should cover a single physical space and should not attempt to compress geography, nor should the stage represent more than one place. Well, if you've ever seen a Broadway play, or really, any kind of play, you'll know that is not a necessary rule. The settings on the stage can be changed, and we can go from, we can go 100 years in time, forward or backward with the next scene. We can go halfway across the world with the next scene, and it can work. And then finally, the unity of time says the action in a play should take place over no more than 24 hours. And again, we know that obviously there are many successful plays where that is not the case. So what happened is French scholars read and misinterpreted Aristotle's Poetics, and that led to all this bitter, bickering between playwrights who wanted to creatively defy the convention and those who wanted to adhere to the convention, or what they thought was the convention, So those are the three unities. So I hope that this document is helpful to you as you approach paper 3. Thanks for listening.